Yeah. Okay, I'm here now. Let's do this.
So we have 5 minutes, and anybody who wants to ask questions
Okay.
can ask questions after.
Okay.
Sorry for you on the spot.
No worries, I'm used to it. Good evening, everyone. Assemblymember Liz Ortega. Excited to be here tonight to ask for your endorsement for re-election. Fortunately, I do not have an opponent. I am unopposed, but nonetheless, wanted to come here and give you an update in terms of what I've been working on, and would still love to get your support. In my first year in office, was able to bring back millions of dollars to the district, including St. Rose, who is a critical staple of our community and is a priority of mine to make sure we keep open. In addition, I passed several bills, one of them including first of its kind educational bill for kids in high school to learn about their rights on the job. Unfortunately, our laws are going backwards, and we have a lot of kids who are working in very unsafe conditions across the state. In fact, I recently read a report about kids working in the Central Valley as young as 12 years old, getting injured and in fact dying. And without an OSHA director, there's no one holding them accountable. And so we passed this law, but there's still a lot of more work to do. Because I can't educate kids about their rights if they're not in school and they're working in factories and here in fast food chains. So I'll be doing a little bit more. I was just appointed as the new Labor and Employment Chair for the state of California. Very excited about that. As you all know, or some of you should know, my background is in labor. I spent there for over 20 years, and very interested in just, in educating my colleagues about what it is that we do as a labor movement, but also doing exactly what I just said, enforcement. In Sacramento, we're in a bubble where we pass a lot of laws, and then we don't look back and say, well, is it working? Are we doing the right thing? And so as the new Labor and Employment Chair, I want to make sure that we're looking and we're saying, okay, what's happening, what's not. One of my first committee hearings is going to be around accountability. So bringing both the Labor and Employment Committee, the representative from the state, and the staff that's there at OSHA to figure out what's happening and where the resources are going. Recently, we're in a bad budget year. But I'm in the mindset that being in the 5th largest economy, when there's a will, there's a way. I remember a couple of years ago when the bank in Santa Clara, was about to go into crisis, we were able to fix that in less than 24 hours. So if we can fix that, I want to make sure that we keep and continue services to our most critical communities. And that includes things like social services, and this is more important for the county, who's our safety net, and making sure that they have the resources they need to provide for the most vulnerable. And lastly, I'm just looking forward, even though it's a lot of doom and gloom, there's also a lot of, hope in making sure that we continue to pass laws and hold folks accountable to make sure that things are distributed equally. And it's one of the reasons I ran in the first place, was to make sure that we stay strong for those who need it the most. As employment chair, I've also been looking at the crisis we have within our senior community. More and more seniors are having to work until they're 80 or 90. There's no longer such a thing as retirement with dignity. After we got rid of all the pension and retirement funds, and that's unacceptable. And so really looking at what we can do there when it comes to our seniors, as well as women. During the pandemic, we saw a lot of women leave the workforce. And every year in Sacramento, we we celebrate equal pay for equal work, and I'm like, why are we celebrating this? It's not a celebration. Women are still making 60 cents to the dollar, if not more, than a man, and we should be fighting for equality. So those are kind of the big picture. Sorry, I've gone pretty quickly here since you guys were like, hello, come in, take a seat. So I'll stop there and see if you have any questions.
Could you say where the 20th district is? What part is that?
Yeah, so I represent San Leandro. Hayward is our largest city, Union City. Then I have a lot of the unincorporated areas, and then a little bit of Dublin, a little bit of Pleasanton.
Any questions?
Got questions over here?
What did you find were the biggest challenges for your first term in office, up in Sacramento?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say transparency, especially around the budget. It's something that the governor really holds close. And, a lot of times we don't find out about what he's thinking until he announces it, and we see it in a press conference. And then we're kind of playing defense. So that's been surprising in a way in terms of, how we're able to fight for what we need. So I was asked to be put on budget, and I was. So I expect to be a lot more involved this year than last. Yes, thank you.
So what is coming through the years with the budget shortfall, how do you see areas of healthcare and mental health being affected?
Well, the mental health, the governor has stated over and over that he's going to continue to fund it and then expand in terms of mental health. We have this bond measure that it's going to be on the ballot to try to get more resources to deal with our mental health crisis. We're gonna see kind of the way that our state does our taxes. I mean, last year the reason we're seeing such a big gap in terms of going from this huge surplus to where we are today in a deficit is because of our tax structure. And the feds, because of the storms, delayed the tax collection. And never, we found out after the fact, so we're waiting, so everybody's making these projections. But this year I think we have a rainy day fund. So I'm hopeful that from what I'm hearing for colleagues who have been there a while and those who were here during the recession, is that we're in a much better place than in those times, particularly with the rainy day fund. And he said he's gonna use it, so we're keeping an eye on that. Yes.
What are you most excited about in your upcoming few years of service?
Most excited is, I would say, traveling the state and taking, what we do here in AD 20 and the vibrancy that we have in this community and the willingness to fight and the willingness to make a change and stand up for the most vulnerable and taking it across the state. I'm going to be visiting communities in the Central Valley, down to LA. I'm going to go up to Sacramento to the very top and really just engage more, but also give hope about what's possible and what we're doing here in the Bay Area. And just trying to push for more changes as I lead in more spaces.
You mentioned young children working in Central Valley and not being in school. And does California not have a college director at present?
Nope.
Why not?
He quit.
And sorry, I'm not up to speed on this, but when did the person quit? And is a replacement being should be a high priority because children are working and not in school and are dying. They shouldn't be working.
Yeah.
And so, that's just so important. How long has the person been when did the person quit? How long is it?
They quit actually after a news story came out about what was happening in one of the it was a chicken factory down in the Central Valley, or poultry factory. And within a week of that story coming out in the LA Times, he resigned. So I'm gonna be hosting my first hearing in a couple of weeks, specifically on that, and bringing in heads of those departments to find out what's going on and what we need to do to make sure that they have the resources. And again, if we can save a major bank in less than 24 hours, we can put some services and resources and attention into what's happening with our youth. You know, it's not a sexy headline like retail theft or other things that we're putting so much resource into because it's happening in the shadows. So my job is to bring it out.
Excuse me, but
Yeah.
when did the person resign?
A few weeks ago.
And is there a deputy?
There's a deputy, yeah, there's a deputy. Yes.
It's not good
No,
enough.
exactly, not good enough.
No,
I agree.
should not be working.
Yep. Yes.
What are our current child labor laws in California?
I mean, there's a lot. The problem is the enforcement piece of it. They're not supposed to work under, you know, the age of 16. They're supposed to get work permits. There's supposed to be all kinds of laws. The problem is that they're not being enforced. We send out inspectors to inspect some of these companies, but they go during the day. They go between 9 to 5. Usually these kids are working in the evenings. We also have a law that allows these companies to hire their own inspectors to do their own reports. So they're essentially policing themselves. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's like a movie.
Yeah, it is.
And this is fairly new for us in California for that, but they've been dealing with it in other states like Minnesota, Wisconsin, and where all the meatpacking plants are. So maybe states can get together and kind of come up with a plan collectively. And because some of the other states are trying to force better, because they do work at night as opposed to during the day. So I'm just saying that now that it's been exposed.
Yeah, well, New York has actually taken my model legislation and replicating it, but that one is specific to kids in school. The other ones, unfortunately, we're seeing the opposite, where states are lowering the age in which kids can go to work, and yeah, especially in the South, the red states. So, you know, it's up to us to really, like we've always said, California leads the way and leads the rest of the country, and it's up to us to do that. There's a gentleman.
I recently turned out as the director of the board of directors chair for Four Seas of Alpine County. For those that don't know, Four Seas is a child care resource referral for those who can't afford child care. We provide vouchers that are monies allocated from the state, alternative payment vouchers. We partnered with your office to distribute over 35,000 diapers to low-income families in District 2 in Hayward. And it was an amazing event. I was wondering if you had any plans of continuing that effort or expanding on that effort.
Absolutely. It was my first time doing it. Thanks to Supervisor Marquez and Miley. It was a huge success. We raised, I can't remember the number, but it was over $70,000 to distribute diapers. So this year we're definitely going to do it a lot bigger with serving a lot more children because the needs grown significantly, and it's going to be one of those programs that I hope I'll never have to use, but we'll continue to do it until we don't have to anymore and make it a lot bigger. So yes. And that means we'll need more volunteers, so I'll hit you guys.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? All right, big hand of applause for